Okay, so we have another edition of Kedushas Levi. Levi Yitzchak Berditchev Parshat Behaalotecha. Getting back, we missed a couple of weeks for various reasons, and now it's good to be back. Okay, so it starts with Behaalotecha and Eros. The Baal Shem Tov, the Kedushas Levi brings one of the most basic and perhaps the most famous ideas of the Baal Shem Tov, and that is the idea of Halaat Nitzotzot. Okay, the raising up of sparks. Okay, what are these sparks that need to be raised up? So the Baal Shem Tov teaches that sometimes, so there's a very, very holy spark that goes to a very, very low place, and part of our job in this world is to raise up these sparks. Okay, so that's why if you're going to stay in the Holy of Holies, then you're never going to be able to do your mission in this world, because you have to go to the low places, because it's in the low places sometimes that these low sparks can be found, and you need to discover them, and you need to bring them up. Okay, so what should I call it? There's a beautiful word from Rebbe that Rebbe says on the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. It says as panim. It says as panim legehenam, uboshes panim legan eden. That a person with brazenness goes to Gehenna, he goes to hell, and a person with boshet panim, with bashfulness, so he goes to Gan Eden. Okay, so on a simple level, so we understand that to mean that the Mishnah is telling us that you should be bashful, you shouldn't be brazen, right? Okay, to be brazenness is a bad thing, to be bashful is a good thing. But the Rebbe, so he said that it really means the opposite. It means that if you're bashful, then you don't have guts. If you're a little bit weak, a little bit scared, so then you should stay in the base medrash. Then you should stay in Gan Eden, because that's where if you're a little bit a coward, so then you need to stay in the base medrash, because if you go out, then who knows, that something might happen to you. You might fall from your level, from your madrigas. So if you're bashful, so then you have to stay in Gan Eden. But if you have azut, if you have brazenness, if you have mamish strength of kedusha, then you know what you should do. Then you know what your mission is. Your mission is to go to Gehenna and bring from Gehenna to bring up those nitzotzos that are down in the depths of Gehenna. Okay, so this is the idea of halas and nitzotzos, and the Baal Shem Tov explained this on many levels. That sometimes you have something called ahava nefula or yirat nefula. That he says that it actually it's related to something that we're talking about in the Baal Shem Tov's in the Baal Shem Tov share before Shavuos. That you can check the video; it's already up. Baruch Hashem. That one of the things the Baal Shem Tov teaches is that sometimes that you have an idea, you have a holy, lofty avodah like Avas Hashem, and the source of Avas Hashem is really in this raw ava, in this raw love, and sometimes it can be misexpressed, it can be misdirected, and you can have this ava that really the source of ava. The source of ava inside of you is really longing to be expressed in Avas Hashem, and instead it's being expressed in quite the opposite. Instead it's being expressed in very low level loves, very like loves of lust, loves of food, loves of sex, loves of the things of like attractions that are really not really getting us further in life. And so he calls these things ahavot nefulot. The ahavot, that the love that really has the potential to have the greatest level, the greatest loftiness, the greatest connection of Hashem, of Avas Yisrael, and instead it's being like wasted, it's being mis-expressed in these lower ahavot. And same thing with yirat nefulot. You have the yira. The yira is amazing quality of awe of Hashem, fear of Hashem, and it can really elevate a person, bring a person into an amazing place. And sometimes we have yirat nefulot, and that is to have fear for failure, to have fear of rejection, to have fear for attack, fear for my safety, and just to have the different kinds of. I'm scared that something's going to happen to me. I'm scared that I'm going to get coronavirus. The things that can just have fear from anxiety, and that's called yirat nefula. That it's coming from the shorish. It's coming from a source of an amazing quality, but it's misrepresented. Okay, so the Baal Shem Tov teaches that sometimes Hashem will send a person in ahava nefula, a lower ahava, or send a person a lower yira, and the purpose of Hashem sending him this thing is that he should bring it back to its source, that he should redirect this ahava and say, and I'm right now experiencing this desire to connect over here, but I know that really my desire is to connect with Hashem. Okay, to know that, hold on, that I'm going with the right emotion, but I'm not going to let it go there. It's going to be a reminder that I should go and elevate it. Okay, in other words, that I would have been a complacent person. I would have been a person that's not going anywhere. I would have been a person who's just like coasting, and Hashem will send me this ahava nefula. Hashem will send me this love that's misexpressed, or this anxiety, or this fear which is misexpressed. And the reason why he sends me this fear and this anxiety is because he wants me to say, whoa, hold on, what's wrong with me? Why am I scared of this stupid interview? It's just an interview. You know what, I really I should be scared of wasting my life. Really I should be scared of betraying Hashem. Really I should be scared of not fulfilling my potential in life. And to take these anxieties and say, whoa, this is so silly that I have this low-level anxiety. It must be a reminder that I'm supposed to be going back to a higher level, not anxiety, a higher level fear, which is a holy thing, which is a beautiful thing, to have fear of Hashem. So this is the Torah of the Baal Shem Tov, and like I said before, it really connects to the Torah that we shared before Shavuos. Were you here for the Baal Shem Tov share? That he taught that really that in every misdeed that we do, so there's a shorish of tov, there's a shorish of kedusha, there's a shorish of something holy, that if I'm able to discern between the good part and the bad part, and afterwards to give it the proper expression, so that's called being mamtik asara b'sharsha, to sweeten it in its root. And this is the true way to do tshuva. The true way to do tshuva, if I'm doing something wrong, if I have a bad habit, so I'm always speaking lashon hara. So there's two ways to break the habit, right? There's what we can call the Litvish way, and that is to just say, how dare you? Don't you know how bad it is to speak lashon hara? Don't you know that every word of lashon hara you're doing 33 averos? You're gonna burn in hell. And do you know how bad hell is? Do you know how hot it is? Do you know how much you're gonna suffer? You know how loud you're going to scream when you're burning, and no, please stop. And that's one way. That's one way of convincing a person to stopping to speak lashon hara. Okay, but the truth is that that's only that it's not a sustainable solution, because you're not dealing with the source of the problem. Okay, you're dealing with the symptom. You got him to stop doing it, but you didn't really solve the problem, because you're failing to recognize that the reason why you're speaking lashon hara is because you were looking for something. And until you take care of that source, then you're not really going to solve the problem. So the Baal Shem Tov teaches that ask yourself, what is the good kernel in the fact that I wanted to speak lashon hara? Okay, it could be that I love to connect with people. It could be that I love to. It could be that I love to think of how good I am, and when I put other people down.
It's often because the person is not really good about themselves. That's very often, right? Like they're putting others down.
That's what I'm saying. I'm putting them down because it makes me feel better. It makes me feel better when I say about how bad they are, so it makes me feel better. Okay, and so that's a great thing. It's a great thing to want to feel good about myself. So to discern between the good kernel of the desire to feel good about myself and the bad expression in the fact that I'm putting other people down, and say, okay, now how can we find a kosher, a holy way for me to feel good about myself? and then I won't have any desire to speak lashon hara. Okay, so that's the Baal Shem Tov's. That's the what's called hamtaka. That's the Baal Shem Tov's. That's the Baal Shem Tov's. That's Baal Shem Tov's derech of tshuva. So this is very connected to the Baal Shem Tov's idea of halalas nitzotzos. It's based on on a different level. It's based on the Gemara. The Gemara says that the reason why Hashem sent us into galut, this is making it shavuistic, that the reason why Hashem sent us into exile is to bring up the nitzotzos, because there's pieces of kedusha which can only be found in the four corners of the earth, and you need there's some holiness somewhere in the Philippines, and there's holiness in China, there's holiness in North Korea. I have a student in the class that's from North Korea, and I said, I was talking, she asked a question, I was saying, so if you're in China, and I'm from North Korea. Oh, not yet. I knew that. I didn't want to make it personal, so that's fine. So there's holiness in North Korea, and there's holiness in China, and there's holiness in Africa. Once I had a student from Kenya. It's actually a cute story that he married an Ethiopian Jewish girl, and they're just the cutest couple. And he's anyway, but he was from the jungle. He was the first person, and yeah.
How did he? I don't. This is what I don't understand. I understand how Jews are 0.05% of the world population, and somebody in Kenya.
Oh no! He found out. The reason why he found out is simple, because he was on a sports scholarship in Herzliya. So he met Jews because he was just simply in Israel. Okay, but it's incredible that he was the first person from his village to ever go to university. It was the first thing. He paid for his high school with maize, with corn. They didn't have money. It's so there's kedusha in Kenya, and we needed that's why we were sent into exile in order to find these sparks of kedusha from the four corners of the world and bring them back to their home, to the Beis Hamikdash, to Yerushalayim, to the source of holiness, and this is one of the reasons why this is one of the things which is part of the Tikkun HaShalom, which part of the complete rectification, with the complete idea of bringing us into our shlemus, into our geula. So anyway, so the Kedushas Levi, based on this idea, so he says that the Torah talks about that Ba'alei Chayes Haneros. Okay, what's it mean Ba'alei Chayes Haneros? So he says, you know what it's talking about? It's talking about that sometimes a tzaddik, so Hashem is going to push him down. Hashem is going to push a tzaddik to a lower level of spirituality, and through his lower level of spirituality, so what's he going to find? He's going to find these other low level nitzotzos. These nitzotzos that went to the imkei aklipas, to the depths of evil, to the depths of darkness, and because he's down, so he's going to be able to help them get out of there. Okay, so in other words, but sometimes a tzaddik, he always feels very close to Hashem, and then out of nowhere, so he's just going to have a hard day. Okay, and he's going to feel that just nothing is going, nothing is working. He doesn't feel close. He doesn't feel inspired. He doesn't feel connected, and so he asks himself, why is this happening to me? So you know why this is happening to him? The reason why this is happening to him is because that Hashem wanted him to go down to the klipas. Hashem wanted him to go to a level of disconnect, to a level of feeling distant, to a level of not being connected, and because he's a tzaddik, so he's not going to give up. Because he's a tzaddik, so he's gonna say, okay, I'm going to serve Hashem without feeling it. I'm going to serve Hashem without connection. I'm going to serve Hashem without inspiration, because I know that this is what I need to do. And through the tzaddik's devotion, through the tzaddik's stubbornness to be a good Jew, so he's going to be able to help people at that level of detachment. And he's going to be able to be the inspiration for all the people that are at that low level, and through his coming back, so he's going to be able to bring them back as well. Okay, so this is what it means. So this is what the Torah is talking about. This is what Rebbe Yitzchak says that the Torah is hinting to, that Ba'alei Chayes Haneros, that what do you mean Ba'alei Chayes Haneros? That when you elevate the neros is the nitzotzos is these sparks that have fallen down. So when you're raising them up, when you're that when you're doing this difficult job of raising up nitzitzis, so it's difficult because it involves that the tzaddik needs to fall. It involves that the tzaddik needs to go to a lower level, and so then what happens? So then what happens? Shalom.
There's nobody here.
Good. I'm here.
Huh?
We're here.
Joking.
Huh?
Just a lot less people than I expected. Well, they're lost apparently.
Mm-hmm. Maybe go get them. go bring them in. So what happens when a tzaddik falls down? What happens when a tzaddik falls down to a lower level is that's when he's able to bring all the other people that also fall. He's able to bring them back. Okay, so this is what the Torah is saying. Behaalotecha El mul pnei hamenorah. El mul pnei hamenorah. So what's it mean? El mul pnei hamenorah? Here, I have a sour stick. El mul pnei hamenorah. So he says pnei. Pnei means to face. That you get that by going down to the level of of this darkness. So what you're doing is, so you're able to get those nitzotos in the bottom level, in the lower levels, to do an about face. El mul pnei hamenorah, that they're going to face the Shekhinah, and then ya'iru shivas haneros. Then by elevating yourself, so not only are you elevating yourself, but you're also able to elevate all the people around you. Okay, so this is basically an explanation of why is it that sometimes we just feel like we're not connected. Why do we feel like sometimes that it's not going? And like I used to feel so connected, and now it's just not going anywhere. And I'm frustrated, and I feel like Hashem doesn't love me anymore, and I feel like that I'm not worthy anymore, and I must have dropped, I must have done something wrong, and it's really not about that at all. It's really that now I have the special avodah of halas nitzitzis. Okay, and it's something it's something to feel proud of. It's something to feel excited about. That I have this, because when I'm feeling good, I'm feeling connected, so then it's very self-gratifying. I'm doing this because it's the most amazing thing in the world. It's the most enjoyable experience in the world. When I'm doing things, when I'm falling, when I'm on a lower level, when I'm feeling disconnected, so then I know that why am I doing this? I'm doing this for the purpose of other people. I'm doing this for the purpose of these lower nitzitzis. Now I'm finally doing something for Hashem. Okay. Like when I'm able to do a mitzvah without feeling inspiration, then I'm able to do it for Hashem. Then I'm able to do it for the tikkun hashalim. Then I'm able to do it for the purpose of the geula. Okay, so this is very.
It's surprising.
Huh?
Because it's too easy when you do it when everything is revealed.
When everything is exciting, when I'm feeling it, when I'm connected, so then like I'm doing it for myself. So when I'm doing it because even though it's hard,
Feel the immediate
so then
benefit.
Then I'm doing it. Then it's really accomplishing. Then it's really meaningful. Okay, so you need a balance. You need a balance, and that's why Hashem says, you're going to come back, and then you're going to feel it again. But don't get down. Don't be disturbed when things are difficult. Don't be disturbed when things are hard, because you should know that then you're actually accomplishing the most. Okay, there's a story that I think I told you about the brother-in-law of Moshe David Chertkov, that he once came to Chertkov before Yom Kippur, and like everybody was mamish in fire. Everybody was passionate. Everybody was davening with amazing kavanah, and he he felt like there was a brick wall. He felt like I can't connect. And he's going crazy, and he's looking around. Everybody's so into it, and he's so not into it. And the more that he looks around, the more frustrated it is that he can't. He's not there, and he's like, "What's wrong with me? I'm always the best davener. I'm so good at feeling so connected. I'm so do I have some curse? Does Hashem not like me anymore? Maybe what's going on?" And so meanwhile, so his brother-in-law, Moshe David, so he had always the mincha before Yom Kippur he was notorious for having the longest Shemona Esrei of the entire year. They would daven for 45 minutes, an hour, and what you call it, in 3 minutes he finished davening, and So Moshe David. So like I forgot to say that somebody he just gave up. He just okay. Like I'm not going to feel anything. I'm not going to have any kavanah today. I'm just going to just try my best to just have the most simple davening in the world. Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Elokei Avosseinu. Just putting his fingers so he just doesn't space out and just go word by word and just without any kavanah, just like a second grader, like to just get through the words. Okay, and so when he finished that, and then Moshe David finished Manasseh, takes 3 steps back. Thank you so much. He takes 3 steps back and he runs over to him and he says, "What did you do?" And he says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I tried. It didn't work." I said, No. I don't understand that I went up every year of Yom Kippur. So you know why it takes me so long? Because I go up to heaven and there's a long line of neshamas that they want me to rectify them before Yom Kippur. And so it takes me time to rectify all these neshamas. And so I come, I said, "No, who's next?" And there's nobody. I said, "No, nobody's here. Where'd everybody go?" I said, "No, your brother-in-law. So he did all the tikkunim. We don't need you today." So what do you do? So he says, "Rebbe, I promise you, I don't know what you're talking about. I just had the worst Shemona Esrei of my entire life." And he said, you think that you had the worst Shemona Esrei of your entire life, but in heaven they look at it very, very differently. Okay, I mean, like specifically when it doesn't feel good, specifically when we don't feel connected, that's when we're doing a tikkun on a much higher level. So it's something to inspire us. It's something to keep us it's like a counterintuitive. Like that when it's like when you're not feeling it, then it's really the best. So then you can never be depressed, because even when when you're feeling it, then of course you're not going to be depressed. You're feeling it. When you're not feeling it, so then you should feel it the most, because now it's
it's like a korban.
Okay, the next idea. Is a very beautiful idea from the Rebbe Yitzchak. So further on in the parsha, in the second aliyah, so we talk about the fact that in the Beis Hamikdash, so the Leviim and the Kohanim, so they are the ones doing the avodah. At the beginning, it wasn't like that. At the beginning, so the people who were supposed to do the avodah were the Becharim, were the firstborns. Okay, any of you Becharim? Mm-hmm. Yeah? No? Yeah? Yeah? So before the Chait HaEgel, so it was supposed to be that the Becharim was supposed to have the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash. So because of the sin of the golden calf, so that became not true anymore, and Hashem switched the Becharim with the Kohanim, with the Leviim, right? And that's how we did Pidyon Haben. We did all the Becharim, so they took five shekel and they switched them with a coin. That was the first Pidyon Haben.
1 second. The Kohanim and the Leviim were both from Levi.
Levi, right?
So which were chosen to be Kohanim?
From Aaron. Anybody from Aaron? Anybody from Aaron is Kohanim, and Aaron himself is from Levi. So that the whole family is Levi. And if you're from Aaron, from Aaron, then you're a Kohen. So the pasuk says, "V'akachas haLeviim tachas kol bechor," that I took the Leviim instead of the Bechorim b'vnei Yisrael. And then the pasuk says like this: "V'etnas haLeviim," and I put the Leviim netunim la'Aaron u'levanav, that this should help Aaron, the Kohanim, mitoch b'nei Yisrael, from b'nei Yisrael, la'avod, to do the service as avodas b'nei Yisrael, to do the service of b'nei Yisrael be'amed in the temple, u'lechaper, and to atone al b'nei Yisrael, for b'nei Yisrael. V'lo yeh b'nei Yisrael, and in the b'nei Yisrael there shouldn't be a negef, there shouldn't be a plague, v'geshes b'nei Yisrael at the kodesh, when b'nei Yisrael are coming to do avodah. So Rashi comments that like b'nei Yisrael is here very, very is very, very recurring things. It's 5 times in the one pasuk it says b'nei Yisrael. Okay, completely unnecessary. So Rashi says that l'hodia chibatan, that the reason why it mentions b'nei Yisrael so many times is to show how much Hashem loves the Jewish people. So the Levi explains like this. that usually that if I choose one person over the other person, so usually the reason why I choose one person over the other person is because I love that person over the other person. Okay? So, for example, it says that Hashem chose the Jewish people. Like this is the Shavuos. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. Hashem chose the Jewish people over the other nations. So that's clearly because Hashem loves us. Hashem says in the Navi, "Ahavti eschem amar Hashem," that I loved you. That the Navi is full of the fact that how much Hashem loves the Jewish people. That He treats us like banim ahuvim, like beloved children. And there's a love that He has for us, which is why the reason why He chose us over the other nations is because He loves us so much. So that's generally the case when you pick one thing over the other. So the reason is because you love that thing more than the other. So now we have a bechira. Hashem chooses the Leviim over the rest of the Jewish people. So it would make a lot of sense. It would seemingly that would tell us that Hashem is saying that, guys, I love you, but I love Levi a little bit more. Okay? Sorry, you have to know your place. So that's what Rashi means. That not the case. That the reason why it says B'nai Yisrael, Hashem is careful to mention B'nai Yisrael 5 times in this pasuk is lahodiach chibatan, is to show how much he loved the Jewish people. That nobody should think that the reason why He chose Levi over the rest of the Jewish people is because He loves the Levium more than He loves us. In other words, that why did He pick the Levium? Why did He pick the Levium over the Jewish people over the rest of the? Because they didn't participate in the chet. So a person might think that the fact that the part of us sin, the part of us doesn't sin, you might think that because a person sins, Hashem loves him less. And that's what the Torah is saying, that no, Hashem loves everyone just the same. The fact that we sin doesn't make that Hashem loves us any less. And the reason why we need the Levium to do the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash is not because He loves them more. It's simply because that if we're going to do avodah in the Beis Hamikdash, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. We're going to have a plague because it's going to have a counter effect. It's going to have a boomerang effect that it's going to fly in our face because that sin is going to not allow us to bring atonement down. So because we want to bring atonement, and that's the purpose of the Beis Hamikdash, so we need the Leviim that have this cleanliness, that have this purity, that they're going to be the ones that bringing down the atonement, but it's not because Hashem loves them more. Okay? So they have a special status, and they have a special mission, but it's not because Hashem loves them more. Okay? And this is a very comforting thought. It's a very important thing to remind ourselves that the fact that a person that makes mistakes, the fact that we have to do tshuva, the fact that we didn't do the right thing, doesn't mean that Hashem loves us any less. So then you might ask, so if Hashem doesn't love me any less, so why should I do tshuva? Right? Isn't the whole reason why I'm doing tshuva because, if you insult your friend, so then your friend doesn't talk to you anymore, right? So you want to do tshuva in order that your friend should talk to you again, right? So if your friend's going to say, I'll talk to you just the same, so you're not going to do tshuva, right? So if Hashem is really telling us that I love you the same, just even though you do sin, so why should we actually do tshuva? Even more than that. So what's the problem of doing sins if Hashem is going to love us the same, right? So this brings us to a deeper understanding, a deeper reason of why we want to do Torah. It's not because that it's going to make our relationship any worse, but it's because it's actually a better way of life. Meaning that Hashem is looking at us when we're messing up, and when you see your kid who's messing up, so you don't love him less. If anything, you love him more, Like your heart goes out for him. You see that he's messing himself up, and because you love him so much, so you feel bad for him. And so the reason why, like you have some parents that when the kid starts messing up, so then they stop talking to the kids. Okay, it's a horrible thing, and what does that do to the kid? It makes the kid say, oh, like if you're gonna play hardball, I'll play hardball too. I won't talk to you, and I'll show you. I'll give you a good excuse not to talk to me. Really, what I did, that's nothing. But if you want to make it, I'll justify the fact that you don't want to talk to me anymore. I'll be so bad that it'll make sense that you want it. And it's just the dumbest thing that a parent could do. But if a parent is just keeps on showering love to the kid, even though they're making the biggest mistakes, so that the kid is not going to think that, oh, well, if he still loves me, that I think that's probably
Some kids do think like
that if he still loves me, so I have no reason to
feel bad about what I did, so I can do the same mistake all over again.
I think it's a childish perspective.
It is, but a lot of people are childish. They do have a childish.
Okay, but if they have a childish perspective, then they just need to grow up. And they just need to grow up. But like the parents that stop talking to the kids, so what they're going with this messed up perspective. They're saying that, oh, he's for sure gonna be better because he wants me to talk to him, right? And it doesn't work, right? So if you're continuing to show love to your kid, so of course your kid wants you to be proud of them. Of course your kid wants you to feel that you're a success in life. And so that it's from that place that I love you, it's from that place that I still care about you, that they say that, yeah, I want you to be proud of me too. If you give up on me, so then I don't care if you're proud of me. But once I know that you love me, so then of course I want you to be proud of me. So that's what Hashem is saying, that the Jewish people, even though you messed up, even though you sinned, but I still love you the same. Because I love you the same, that's why you want me to be proud of you as well. And that's where the truth is coming from.
So I have a little bit of problem with this because we're arguing that it's so important to mitzvot, not because it will change our relationship with Hashem. Like that's unconditional, but it's better for us. And I struggle with that because we're supposed to do mitzvot because we're doing it for Hashem. We're serving Him. Continue on the right derech. Continue to follow the ways of Torah mitzvot because your life will be better. But it's not about us. Like we're not here to serve ourselves.
When it says that the idea of serving Hashem is precisely this. The idea of serving Hashem is to put our lives in sync with Hashem's will. And the reason why we should put our lives in sync with Hashem's will is because that's the best mission, that's the best plan for us, that's the best life that we can live. Right. Torah is the best way of life.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing that there's another way of life besides Torah that would be better, but I don't think it's the point. Like, yes, a lovely side effect of following in Torah is that your life will
there was an Israeli professor that said like you. Could be I've mentioned him before in class. His name was Levi. You've heard of him? You've heard of Nechama Leibowitz? So her brother. Okay, he was like a triple doctorate, and she would call him Achi Hatipesh, my stupid brother. Okay, he was like too smart for his own good. Right? So this is one of his primary ideas in Jewish philosophy, that the idea of lishma, that everything that, like mamish, what you're saying, that if I'm doing Judaism because it's good for me, so then that's like idolatry. The only way to serve God is only if it makes no sense and I get nothing out of it. And so, true story, that a guy came to speak to Professor Leibowitz about his struggles as being a religious homosexual. Okay, and so because this was his baby, like this lishma, so he said, wow, everybody else, when they have the mitzvah of having children, so they have their personal pleasure, but you get to do it lishma. I'm jealous of you. So that was his philosophy in life. He really felt that if you're doing Judaism because you think it's the best way of life, then you're not serving Hashem. And I like to say that it's that he forgot a pasuk. That the pasuk says in V'eschana that Vayetzavenu Hashem lasot et kol hachokim ha'ele v'et hamishpatim. That Hashem commanded us all of these statutes and all of these laws, l'tov lanu kol hachayim, in order that it should be good for us for our entire lives. L'achayotenu kayam hazeh. So the pasuk says very clearly, Hashem tells us very clearly that the reason why Hashem commanded us all the Torah, all the mitzvahs, is in order that we should have goodness, in order that we should have a good life. So they are one and the same. That the service of God is a pleasant endeavor, and the fact that we're enjoying life, the fact that it's better for us, does not take away from the fact that we're serving Hashem. Okay, so this is what Hashem wants us to know, that even though He picked the Leviim, that they're going to be the ones serving, that they're going to be the ones in the Beis Hamikdash, but we shouldn't think that the fact that we sinned makes Hashem love us any less, and this is really very important message for all of us. And the last point that I wanted to share with you today is a very mysterious parsha. Vayihi b'nsa ha'aron. We say it every Shabbos. We say it every Thursday. This is the psukim that we say when we take the Torah. We take the Torah out of the Aron, and so in the Torah, so then there's a very interesting thing that we have in Chumash. This is the only place at all that this exists. That before and after this parsha, Vayihi b'nsa ha'aron, we have this backwards nun. Okay, you can see it over here, like over here and over here, these backwards nuns. Okay, before this and after the parsha, that Vayihi b'nsa ha'aron is marked. It's marked by these special markings of a backwards nun. So what's up with this? What's up with this backwards nun? Rashi says that it's really its own sefer. It's coming to tell you that it's its own sefer. It's a special thing. Really, that Bamidbar is really made of 3 parts. And so what's up with this? So Rebbe Yitzchak says something that he expects us to know what he's talking about. He says that nun moreh al yirat. That nun is a hint to yirat, to fear of Hashem. Okay. Now he doesn't explain why this is true. To be honest, I don't know what exactly he means, but I do know that his dear friend Rabbi Nachman says the same thing, and he does explain a little bit. And he says in Torah Aleph of the Kutim Aran, he writes that nun is lashon malchus. It says v'lifnei shemesh yinon shema. So Rashi says yinon is lashon malchus. It's an Israeli name, Yinon. It's more of a Sephardic name. That sometimes you've ever met somebody named Yinon. So the word Yinon is word for king, is Yinon. So Rashi says that Yinon is to have rain. Okay. So that being said, the nun represents Hashem's control over us. Hashem's having jurisdiction over us. Hashem having power over us. So that's Yira. The Yira is when we're feeling constrained, when we're feeling Hashem's power, when we're feeling Hashem is controlling us, and we don't want to move 1 centimeter to the right or to the left, so then that's Yira. Okay, when a person is just paralyzed, that's why the Yitzchak Avinu is the paradigm of Yirah. Right? Avraham is the paradigm of Chesed, of Ahava, and Yitzchak is the paradigm of yirat. So what was the pinnacle of Yitzchak Avinu's life? Akedat Yitzchak, when he was the binding of Isaac. And so this is the famous question that why do we call it the binding of Isaac? Why do we call it the Akedat Yitzchak? Well, what's special about him being tied up? So they explain that when a person is tied up, when Yitzchak was tied up, that was the epitome of the expression of his yirat. That the yirat of Yitzchak was such that he was scared to move. He was like paralyzed. He was tied up. This, by the way, this is one of the hints. This is one of the symbolisms of tefillin. It's one of the symbolisms of the mitzvah of tefillin is that I'm tying myself up to Ratzon Hashem. I'm confining myself to Ratzon Hashem. Okay, that's the yirat is when I'm feeling Hashem's malchut. Okay, so he says, "Haklal hu ki adam tzarich liot tzanua b'yirat Elokim." That a person needs to keep his yirat to himself. Okay, some people they keep their yirat is like out in the open, and there's a famous story with Rebbe Salanter that once Erev Yom Kippur, like he was passing by some tzaddik, and like the tzaddik was like just scared. Yom Kippur was coming. He was just like trembling, and like so he comes by, and he says, and Rebbe says, "Chassidic, how are you doing?" And like the guy is just like trepidation. He's like, and like, and so like he passed by, and like Rebbe says to the guy next to him, like okay, like I'm very happy that you have yirat shamayim, but like why do I have to suffer? why do I? Like, it's not my fault. Like why do I deserve your yirat shamayim? So a person has to keep his yirat shamayim to himself. Okay, usually that the fact that a person should be very open about his love of Hashem. A person should be open about his love to Hashem, but a person has to be very private about the yirat shamayim. Like you've probably seen like some like people like the people that like ask their hosts, what hechsher is this? Okay, by the way, like in case you didn't know, never ever ask your host, what hechsher is this? Okay, it's always offensive, it's always insulting. I'm telling you from experience because I've been asked what hechsher is this, and I just like, if you don't trust me, so just don't come to my house, okay? So
it's true. I offer things to friends. They're like, "Oh, is this kosher? Are you kidding me? You think I give you the non-kosher food?"
Well, yes, he does. But the problem is he shouldn't tell you that. That he should say, if you're not sure, so don't take it. If you're not sure, so don't take it. That's you should be tzanua. You say, "Oh, I just ate. I appreciate it," or just say, "Oh, I don't like those candies anyway," or just you do not make your oh, is that heter machira? Oh, I don't eat heter machira. Sorry. Oh, is it chalav Yisrael? Oh, I only eat chalav Yisrael. So, like when you're yirat shamayim, so keep it to yourself. Okay, like that the world, Hashem knows that you're not eating this. You're not eating this for His sake. It's like nobody else has to know. Nobody else has to know that the things that you're giving up. And there's something beautiful about like when you make a fuss about what you're giving up. So you're making Judaism look like something which is about giving up, right? When you're making a fuss about what you're doing, about spreading light, then you're making Judaism about spreading light, So that's why in general, the idea is that ahava needs to be out in the open, and yirat needs to be tzanu, okay? But there is an exception. And that is. It connects to the first Torah that he was talking about. That is when you're going to the depths, when you're going down into the darkness, into hell, into the klipot, and you need to and you need to bring up the klipot, you need to bring up the kedusha from the lowest places. Then, says Rebbe Yitzchak, that is the exception. Then your yirat needs to be out in the open. Okay? When you're in a place when you're like I think I told you the story that a story that happened like 10 years ago, maybe even less than 10 years ago, that the Israeli ambassador to the UK. So he was at some royal banquet, and so he brought his own food and he brought his own cutlery, and so in the middle of the banquet, so they had some, like the royal idea was that they should switch seats in order to meet new people. Like the first part of the meal, you were speaking to the people around you, and then they wanted to mix, so they rearranged musical chairs. Everybody should have new people sitting next to, so everybody should meet as many people as possible. Okay, so he was moving, and so of course he took his food and his cutlery with him, and so then he met Charles, who's now king, and Charles. Oh, sorry, I skipped the important part. And like this whole time, so there was the secular Jew that saw this religious Israeli, and he was like making fun of him the whole time. He's making fun, it's like, it's because you're being so weird. We're at the royal banquet. It's because of you that there's anti-Semitism, because everybody thinks that we're weird. Like just be normal. And he didn't care. So now they're moving. So Prince Charles, so he goes over to him, and he thinks he's like messed up. He thinks that he's like just clueless, and he says, "Oh no, it's okay. There's cutlery in your newsfeed too. You don't need to bring your cutlery to the new place. There's cutlery in your newsfeed." So no, it's okay. Thank you, Prince Charles. It's because I keep kosher. I said, "Oh, you keep kosher, but what's wrong with the cutlery? I don't understand." So he said, "Oh, no, if you keep kosher, you also can't eat from non-kosher cutlery, because that when they were cooking it, so then the cutlery touched the hot meat and the juices got inside, and I said, wow, I never heard this in my life. I want to tell my mother about this." And so he brings him over to Queen Elizabeth, and he says, "Mom, I just saw this guy, and this Israeli guy, and he's bringing his cutlery, and I tell him that and he tells me that it's because of kosher." Explain it to her, and so he explains the whole thing about why you have to have kosher kalim and why you have to have kosher cutlery, and she says, "Wow, I'm impressed, you guys. You're serious about your Torah stuff. You're kudos." And so then that secular Jew, that like the Tsar that he was getting like publicity for, so he says, "Her Highness, I'm also a Jew." So she says, "Then where's your cutlery?" So I think that's a great example that sometimes when you're in the deepest darkness, when you're in the klipot, then your job is to bring up the klipot from the dirt. Then you need the yirat. Then you need the yirat shamayim to be out in the open. That's when you need the yirat shamayim to be in the open. And like when you're in a place, like when you're in a place that like everyone is doing, like the most like immoral things, the most promiscuous things, and like everything goes. So that's the time to stand up with your yirat shamayim. Like, no, I don't do that. And like be very proud, very open, and very in your face about the fact that I don't believe in that. I have, and that's the time for the things I don't do, things of yirat shamayim, that needs to be out in the open. So Rebbe Yitzchak says that's the hint. Vayhi bin Sara ha'aron. What's happening over here? This is that the Aron Abris is going in the desert. This is what's happening. That when the kedusha is going into the desert, when it's going to the darkest places, when it's going to the lowest places, so then we have an avoda of halas hanitzetzes. Then we have an avoda of bringing up the kedusha from the lower places and elevating them. Then says Rebbe Yitzchak, then you have the backwards nuns. What the backwards nun? That the nun is the yirat shamayim. To be backwards, it means to be in the open. It means to in your face. That's when we need to bring our yirat. That's when we need to bring our fear of Hashem, of the things that we're not doing, to be proud. This azus that we're proud of the things we don't do. We're proud of the fact that we're confining ourselves. We're proud of the fact that there's things that I will not do. Yes, I'm a proud Jew. Those are things that I don't do. Okay, so when we're going down into the klipas, that's the time that we need to bring our yirat into the open and make it a thing, make it a public thing, make it to be proud of the things that we're not willing to do, and that's the exception. That's you have to be you have to have chachma, you have to have seichel to know, like, when is the time that yirat needs to be on the inside, when is the time it needs to be on the outside. That he quotes that we say that we say in davening that the olam yehei adam yirei shamayim b'seter u'v'galei, that a person has to be yirei shamayim in secret and in public. Sometimes you need to keep yirei shamayim a secret, and sometimes you need to keep yirei shamayim in the open. So that's the lesson for today. That you have to use your brains when to be on the inside and when to be on the outside. But never to be afraid. Never to be afraid, and to always to know that not to give in. That sometimes, like the opposite. There's also a third option, right? There's that you could have your yirat on the inside. I'm keeping private about the fact that I'm being loyal to Hashem, and sometimes I'm being public about the fact that I'm being loyal to Hashem. And then there's people that they're less loyal. They're like, okay, I'm not in the mood to make a fuss. I'm not in the mood to give an excuse. So I'll just whatever. Okay, and that's Vayihi bin Saharon is reminding us that to bring the yirat and to make it it's something that I'm proud of. All right, so l'chaim, Zat Hashem.